Happy National Career Development Week and Happy National Career Development Day. My name is Brittany Sherman and I'm a Career Services Advisor here with Valley College. Currently, I serve the Cybersecurity and Business Administration programs. And you may have noticed that this week we're doing a lot of tips from your career advisors, and we have a lot of tips going forward as well. So I wanted to take my opportunity to give you some of my best tips. And I wanted to stick to a subject that's near and dear to my heart, which is technology and how you can utilize that in your career development. I'm sure that a lot of my cybersecurity students are a little bit better at technological things than I am, but I still think that some of my tips are useful for anybody in their career journey. So what I wanted to talk to you about is video interviews. Right now, these are very crucial, especially with the ongoing pandemic. Most of the interviews that you may be called into right now will at least start out as a video interview. So what can you do to be prepared and make the process smooth? Well, I have just a couple tips to hit on that. So one of the very first things that I would recommend is looking at your setup of your video interview, knowing what platform you're using. So whether it's Zoom or Skype or something else, being aware of that platform and being able to utilize it. Maybe you want to practice a little bit or practice with a family member and make sure that you know where all the buttons are and how everything works. Those are all great things to practice. I would also urge you to take a look at your profile itself. If it's a shared computer or a family computer, it may be that it has your family member's name on it or somebody else's name. Typically, I would recommend you keep that as your name so it's a little less confusing when you go into the interview that the profile matches your name. So that's just a tip to make things a little bit smoother, a little less confusing for the interviewer. Along those same lines, your profile picture on your platform, making sure that it's a plain picture or no picture at all is okay, because usually it'll throw up your initials or something like that. What I don't want to see is usually, if somebody's using a cartoon character or maybe it's a family member and not you. Those are things that I would stray away from. In addition to that, making sure that your space is prepared, your area is prepared is important, and that includes a couple aspects. For one, your physical space, the area behind you, making sure that it's a neutral area, just a wall in your house or something like that. Along those same lines, your audio space, making sure that you don't have pets or kids or similar things in the area is important, so that way you can have that focus and that isolation. A lot of platforms like Zoom also give you the option of doing a virtual background, and while it's pretty cool and it's fun to play with, I would stray away from that for your interviews itself. If you ever play with them, you can see it'll put you at the beach or in space or something like that, and it's pretty fun to play around with. But in an interview, it can be distracting and it's not as professional. So unless you really don't have some sort of neutral space to do your interview in, I would stray away from those. And I would also make sure that you haven't been using one in the past, because a lot of times it'll save that setting. So even if you didn't plan on using a virtual background, it could have saved your settings from the last time, whether it was you or a child or somebody who had used one of those virtual backgrounds. It'll load that in. So make sure you check that before you go in. And last but not least, I would say make sure that you're doing all the things that you're doing in your regular interviews, such as being on time, being professional. Wearing that professional attire is very important as well. Even if it's only your top half, I recommend wearing a full interview outfit, just because it boosts your confidence. It means you're prepared. If you do have to get up for something, you're not in pajamas or something of that nature. And finally, being aware of where your camera is on your device is also very important. So if you have a webcam or multiple monitors, whether it's on a desktop or a laptop, or if you're on a smartphone, just being aware of where your little camera is important, so that way you can make sure you're making correct eye contact. A lot of times what I'll see is someone looking off to their second monitor, so they're not really looking at you. Or if you're on a smartphone, I see a lot of people look downward or toward the bottom of the screen. So you can see how I'm not really making eye contact with you. I'm looking downward. So bringing that eye level up and looking at the camera just makes you make that eye contact even in a video interface. So I would definitely recommend checking that and being aware of that and trying to practice a little bit on making eye contact with the camera. So those are all the tips that I have, and you can take those whether you have a video interview now or after the pandemic, and utilize those to make sure that your interviews go smooth. If you have questions or concerns, you can talk to your CSA. They have tips, they can practice with you, and we're happy to help at any point. So again, happy National Career Development Week and National Career Development Day.